It was Halloween night, the air thick with anticipation and a hint of mischief. The streets were filled with the sounds of laughter and the rustling of leaves, as children in costumes roamed from house to house, collecting candy and sharing ghost stories. A group of friends, Mark, Sarah, David, and Emily, were hanging out, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of a nearby street lamp. They had been friends since childhood, and Halloween was their favorite night of the year. "Let's go to Cranbrook House," Mark said, his eyes gleaming with excitement and a touch of daring. He had always been the adventurous one, always looking for the next thrill. Cranbrook House was an old abandoned mansion on the edge of town, rumored to be haunted for decades, a place where no one dared to go after dark. The stories about it were legendary, passed down from generation to generation. "No way, it's haunted!" Emily shrieked, her voice trembling. Everyone knew the stories, the legends that surrounded the old mansion, tales of ghostly apparitions, strange noises, and unexplained events that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who heard them. People claimed to have seen flickering lights and heard strange noises emanating from within its decaying walls. Some said they had seen shadowy figures moving past the windows even though the house had been abandoned for years. Some even said they felt a cold presence watching them, an unseen entity lurking in the shadows. The very thought of it sent chills down their spines, but it also intrigued them, drawing them closer to the mystery of Cranbrook House. Mark laughed. "Don't be scared, Emily, it's just a house." With a mix of fear and excitement, they decided to go. The thrill of the unknown was too tempting to resist, and they couldn't back down from the dare. As they approached the house, a shiver ran down Emily's spine, her heart pounding in her chest. The closer they got, the more real the stories seemed, and the more their courage wavered. The old house stood tall and menacing against the dark sky, its silhouette like a dark sentinel guarding its secrets. The windows, like empty eyes, stared back at them, daring them to come closer. The wind howled through the broken windows, sounding like mournful cries, adding to the eerie atmosphere that surrounded them. It was as if the house itself was alive, breathing, and waiting for them to uncover its dark secrets. The front door creaked open, the sound echoing through the still night air. It was as if the house itself was inviting them in, beckoning them to uncover its secrets. The air inside was heavy and cold, a chill that seemed to seep into their bones. "Hello?" Sarah called out, her voice echoing in the silence, bouncing off the walls and returning to her. Only the sound of their own breathing answered her, a reminder of their isolation. They cautiously ventured deeper into the house, each step taken with trepidation. Each room was coated in dust and cobwebs, furniture rotting and decayed as if untouched for decades. It was as if time had stood still, preserving the house in a state of perpetual decay. As they walked, Emily thought she saw something move in the shadows, a fleeting glimpse of a figure, a flicker of movement out of the corner of her eye, gone as quickly as it appeared. "Did you see that?" she whispered, grabbing David's arm, her voice trembling with fear. He shook his head, but his face was pale, betraying his own unease. They reached the top of the grand staircase, feeling uneasy. A sudden crash echoed from downstairs, making them all jump in fear. "What was that?" Mark exclaimed. They froze, listening intently. Silence followed. They slowly made their way downstairs, their hearts pounding in their chests. As they reached the bottom, they saw it. A rocking chair in the corner of the room was moving back and forth, swinging gently, as if someone had just been sitting there. Terror gripped Emily's heart. She could feel her blood run cold. This was no trick of the wind. There was something here with them, lurking in the shadows. Suddenly, all the candles in the room blew out, plunging them into an eerie and unsettling darkness. The room, once filled with the warm glow of candlelight, was now a void of shadows and uncertainty. The sudden shift from light to dark was jarring, leaving everyone disoriented and on edge. It felt as if the darkness itself was alive, wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. Screams filled the air as the friends stumbled and fell, their hands reaching out blindly for each other. Panic set in as they tried to navigate the pitch-black room, their hearts pounding in their chests. The once familiar room now felt like a maze of terror, each step uncertain and fraught with danger. They could hear each other's frantic breaths and the sound of their own heartbeats, loud and erratic in the oppressive silence. Emily felt a cold hand close around her wrist, sending a shiver down her spine. The touch was icy and unnatural, as if it belonged to something not of this world. She could feel the cold seeping into her bones, a chill that seemed to freeze her very soul. The grip tightened, and for a moment she was paralyzed with fear, unable to move or even scream. She screamed again, pulling back with all her might. Her voice echoed through the room, amplifying the terror that gripped her heart. The sound of her scream seemed to awaken something in the darkness, a presence that had been lying in wait. She could feel the eyes of unseen entities watching her, their gaze heavy and malevolent. They had to get out of there. The urgency of their situation was clear. Staying any longer could mean facing whatever malevolent force was in the house. The walls seemed to close in on them, the air growing thicker and harder to breathe. Every second they stayed felt like an eternity, the fear gnawing at their sanity. They scrambled to their feet and ran towards the faintest glimmer of moonlight, the front door. The small beam of light was their only hope, a beacon guiding them to safety. The path to the door seemed endless, each step a struggle against the darkness that sought to hold them back. But the promise of escape gave them strength, pushing them forward despite their fear. They burst out of the house and into the night, gasping for breath. The cool night air was a stark contrast to the oppressive atmosphere inside. It felt like a lifeline, a reminder that they were still alive and had escaped the clutches of whatever haunted that house. They collapsed on the ground, their bodies trembling with relief and exhaustion. As they ran, they could hear the sound of laughter echoing behind them. It was a chilling, mocking sound that seemed to follow them, no matter how fast they ran. The laughter was a reminder that the house was not just a building, but a living entity that thrived on their fear. It was a sound that would haunt their dreams for years to come. The sound seemed to follow them, growing fainter and fainter as they distanced themselves from Cranbrook House. They never looked back, too afraid of what they might see if they did. The house loomed behind them, a dark silhouette against the night sky, a place of nightmares that they would never forget. They never found out what or who was in the house with them that night. The mystery of Cranbrook House remained unsolved, a dark secret that would haunt their memories. It was a story they would tell in hushed tones, a cautionary tale of the unknown and the dangers that lurk in the shadows. And they never went back. The fear and uncertainty of that night were enough to keep them away forever, a lesson learned in the most terrifying way possible. They knew that some mysteries were better left unsolved, and some places were better left undisturbed. Cranbrook House would remain a dark chapter in their lives, a reminder of the night they faced the unknown and lived to tell the tale. The friends, still shaken from their harrowing experience, decided to delve deeper into the history of Cranbrook House. They gathered in a dimly lit library, surrounded by the musty scent of old books and the soft rustle of ancient pages. Their determination to uncover the truth was palpable as they pored over old documents and historical records. Through their research, they discovered that the mansion was constructed in the late 1800s by a wealthy family who mysteriously vanished without a trace. The grand Victorian architecture, once a symbol of opulence, now stood as a haunting reminder of the past. Over the decades, the house changed hands numerous times. Each new owner reported inexplicable phenomena, whispers in the night, cold drafts in warm rooms, and shadows that moved on their own. Eventually, every owner abandoned the property, unable to withstand the eerie occurrences. Determined to uncover the truth behind these hauntings, the friends decided to return to the house during daylight. They hoped that the light of day would reveal clues hidden in the shadows of the night. With a mix of trepidation and resolve, they stepped into the old mansion once more. As they explored the dusty rooms and creaking hallways, they stumbled upon a hidden attic. Inside, they found a treasure trove of old photographs, letters, and a diary that had been carefully concealed. The diary's pages were filled with the dark secrets of the mansion's past, revealing a story that had been buried for generations. The diary told a tale of a tragic love story, a vengeful spirit, and a curse that doomed anyone who dared to enter the house. The friends read with growing horror, realizing that the spirit was not just a ghost, but a tormented soul seeking justice for the wrongs done to them. The more they read, the more they understood the depth of the spirit's anguish. This was not a mere haunting, it was a cry for help from a soul trapped in a cycle of pain and vengeance. The friends knew they had to do something to break the curse and free the spirit. They decided to perform a ritual to free the spirit, hoping to end the haunting once and for all. The ritual required precise preparation and unwavering courage. They gathered the necessary items and began to set up in the grand hall, the heart of the mansion's dark history. The ritual was fraught with danger and required them to stay in the house overnight. As night fell, the mansion's oppressive atmosphere grew heavier. They could feel the malevolent force lurking in the shadows, watching their every move. Despite their fear, they pressed on, determined to see the ritual through. As they prepared for the ritual, the presence of the spirit grew stronger. The air around them seemed to crackle with energy, and the temperature dropped sharply. It was as if the spirit was aware of their intentions, and was both hopeful and fearful of what was to come. The night was filled with terrifying encounters. Shadows moved of their own accord, whispers echoed through the halls, and cold drafts sent shivers down their spines. But the friends remained steadfast, their determination unwavering. They knew that they had to help the spirit find peace, no matter the cost. They set up the ritual in the grand hall, lighting candles and chanting the incantations they had found in the diary. The words felt ancient and powerful, resonating through the room and stirring the very air around them. The air grew thick with tension as the spirit's presence became almost tangible. The temperature continued to drop and shadows seemed to dance around them, flickering in the candlelight. It was as if the mansion itself was holding its breath, waiting for the ritual to reach its climax. As the final words of the ritual were spoken, a blinding light filled the room. It was so intense that the friends had to shield their eyes, feeling a rush of cold wind pass through them. The light seemed to cleanse the very air, driving away the darkness that had plagued the mansion for so long. The friends shielded their eyes, feeling a rush of cold wind pass through them. It was as if the spirit was making its final departure, leaving behind a sense of peace and relief. The oppressive atmosphere that had once filled the mansion was gone, replaced by a feeling of lightness and freedom. When they opened their eyes, the oppressive atmosphere had lifted, and the house felt different, lighter, as if a great burden had been lifted. The once dark and foreboding mansion now seemed almost welcoming, as if it had been freed from its own torment. In the end, they succeeded, and the house was finally free from its dark past. The spirit had found peace, and the curse that had plagued the mansion for so long was broken. The friends felt a deep sense of accomplishment, knowing they had done something truly meaningful. The friends left Cranbrook House, knowing they had done the right thing, but the experience would stay with them forever. They had faced their deepest fears and emerged victorious, their bond stronger than ever. They had faced their fears, uncovered the truth, and brought peace to a tormented soul. The journey had been perilous, but it had also been profoundly rewarding. They knew that they had made a difference, not just for the spirit, but for themselves as well. Cranbrook House was no longer a place of fear, but a symbol of their bravery and determination. It stood as a testament to their courage and the power of friendship, a reminder that even the darkest places can be brought into the light. Years had passed since that fateful night at Cranbrook House. The friends, now scattered across different cities, decided to reunite and share how the haunting had left an indelible mark on their lives. They gathered around a cozy fire pit, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows on their faces, reminiscent of the shadows they once feared.